Hello, good afternoon. This is David Sutter talking to you. Today is my weekly trade predictions for the upcoming trading week of July 1st through July 5th. Okay. Now, one thing I want to note real quick is that July 5th, this coming Friday, is the non-farm payroll, which is the biggest trading day of the month. Okay. This is when the U.S. government releases all its employment figures and employment data. And the market can be very volatile. It can have huge spikes up and down. And I really do not recommend trading during that time. You can trade that day, but the thing is all the information is released around 8:30 in the morning, New York time, New York Standard Time. And I would probably not trade about an hour before and an hour after, just because there's a lot of market volatility and a lot of indecision during that time. You can make a lot of money trading it, but at the same time, you can lose a lot of money. So I probably would not trade during that time. Just kind of avoid that, and you'll be fine. Overall, the NFP will not affect the market or the trends in the market as a whole. Okay, it might affect Friday. It might affect the market some, but overall, long term, it will not affect the market. Okay, now moving on, I'm going to go over the major currency pairs here, which is Euro USD, Pound USD, Australian dollar, and New Zealand dollar USD, US dollar Swiss franc, US dollar Japanese yen, and US dollar Canadian dollar. Okay, so I'm going to go over all these pairs with you, and I'm going to go look at the previous week, and I'm going to base everything on a 15-minute chart so we can see what happened in last week and kind of get an idea of what we think is going to happen this week, and compare the smaller time frames with the larger time frames, so we can zoom in and out of the market and get an idea of what the bigger picture really is. All right, starting with Euro USD here. Last week we see that it dropped. It ended less than where it started. Overall drop, but mostly it was a range of market. It's pretty much moving in a sideways fashion. Okay, which is actually very nice to trade, because we have a lot of highs and lows, and that's what we're looking for. So long term, I think that this is going to be going up. Okay, now if we look here, I want to look at the H4 and the daily. Okay, the H4 4-hour time frame shows that it wants to go down, right? We have a red arrow here, but we've been caught, like I said, we've been caught in this flat range of market right now. Okay, and then if we look at the daily, same thing right here. We see this little area right here where it's been ranging, right, the last few days, moving in a sideways fashion. And we only have an up arrow. We do not have any down arrows. So that kind of tells me that, hey, long term this is going to be going up. If we look at the weekly, we see we have an up arrow, and it's starting to form an uptrend, right? And the monthly has an up arrow. Okay, so long term, we're looking to buy with this. If the Euro USD goes up, that means the US dollar is going to go down. It must. Okay. So the thing is, with this pair, on the H4, it shows down. It has not formed an up arrow. So I think that this coming week is going to drop. It's going to drop in the beginning of the week, and probably around Wednesday, you're going to see this shoot back up again. Okay? And how we can kind of tell this, okay, this is important, is I want to look at a previous level of support and resistance. Okay, if we look here, I'm on a 1-hour chart. I may not do. Let's go to the daily chart. Okay, this is what I want to do. Alright, we have right here, we have a level of resistance right here. This is a previous level of resistance. Okay, now notice that it broke here on this candle, but then it bounced off. All this past week has been bouncing off of this. This is now a support. So whenever you have a resistance that is broken, it now becomes a support that you walk on top of. Okay, you understand? And if this is broken and comes back down, it now becomes a resistance again. Just like going to levels in your house. You have a ceiling or a floor on the next level, right? And then also let's look at another previous level of resistance, which is right here. Okay, we see the price had come up here several times and bounced off of this, even here, but eventually it broke. Okay, and it came back down again and came back up. So what I'm looking for is the price to come down and touch this level of support now. Okay, the former level of resistance, but now support. Also, since we only have an up arrow but no down arrow, this indicates that we are in an uptrend still. So I need to look at my uptrend and mark it, define where my uptrend is. So I go over here on the toolbar. I want to draw a trend line. Okay, this is important. Draw your trend line. So we have these. You really technically need 3 points on a trend line, and here we have more. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 points to make a trend line, but I kind of want to count this as 1 and count this as another 1. So that's only 2 points. So what I'm looking for is a third point for this to connect and make that trend line. You understand? So this week, what we can do, we can predict is that this price is going to drop and it's going to come down and touch this support and this trend line also. So where these two lines intersect, that is where X marks the spot, basically. Okay, and that is what we're looking for. We're looking for this to gradually drop and touch right around here and then bounce back up again. So I'm predicting that in the beginning of this week it's going to drop, and then sometime around Wednesday or so it's going to shoot back up again, and then by the end of the week we should see this finish pretty much back up to this level of resistance or support right here. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for this coming week. Now moving on to Pound USD rather, it kind of see this same pattern as we did with Euro USD, and these two currency pairs typically follow the same movements from week to week. Now we notice here that it started off, it reached this high point and then ended here, so it ended lower than where it started. So obviously this Pound USD has dropped, which allowed the US dollar to gain a bit, but overall we should see this going back up. And how we can tell is look at the H4 and daily chart. Okay, H4, just like his predecessor Euro USD, we have a down arrow here, and on daily we have an up arrow, and the weekly we have up arrow, and the monthly we have up arrow. So long term you want to buy. Okay, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for buy trades, and if I'm going to go to the daily chart just like we did with Euro USD, and I want to show you that this is an uptrend, and we're going to do this by drawing a trend line. Oops. Let me do that again. Start here and go up. Okay, not perfect, but close enough, I think. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Right, so we have technically 1, 2, 3 points, kind of. So, but in it, regardless, we know that this is uptrend. Okay, we do not have any red arrows yet on a daily, so we're going to look for this to go up this coming week, and how high it will go, I don't know. I do not think it's going to go down too much, but if we look at the H4, this is what can be a little tricky. If let me adjust this a little bit, but Okay, so this is your uptrend, right? It has come down, hit this, but it never formed a blue arrow. So at this point, I'm not 100% certain if it's going to break this. If it breaks this trend line, then we're going to have a downtrend. Right now, it's been going in a sideways fashion this past week, and it looks like it's going to be going up. Now, it does not have to form an up arrow. It could go up further and then form another red arrow. Okay, it could totally skip this. That's not common, but not uncommon at the same time. If we look at the 1 hour, okay, you will see an up arrow. Okay, look at this. I kind of zoom out a little bit just so you can see what I'm talking about. This is your trend line, right? You already have an up arrow here on the 1 hour chart. So it looks to me like this is going to be going up this coming week. And the daily and the weekly also indicate that it's going to go up. So I probably would be looking to just buy and hold this. And what you can do is, you see the price right here, you know it's been moving in a sideways fashion. Wait for this to drop at the beginning of the week. If it bounces off of this trend line, then I would buy. Okay, I would buy and hold. And wait for at least on the 1 hour chart for this to form another red arrow. And what I think might happen, without trying to get into predictions too much, we see this level of resistance right here. Okay, so this right here is what we call a wedge pattern. Alright, where the price goes up and forms like a triangle almost. Alright, a two-sided triangle, and price will get trapped inside of here and eventually will break out, and then it'll form a downtrend. If we look at the 4 hour, we see this hard level of resistance right here. So the price probably, probably will go up and will ride in this pattern and then eventually break out and form a downtrend again. I cannot say 100% certain, but what I do feel is that the price is going to be going up this week, and you're going to see it form, going to have a lot of ups and downs, but overall it's going to move up. And then probably the following week we will see this break out and come back down again. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different from EURUSD, but that is kind of my prediction. So watch this week for this to go up. It's not going to gain a whole lot, but it's definitely going to be an uptrend. Okay, and then like I said, the following week we'll see a new downtrend. Now moving on to AUD/USD, we see the past week, and same with New Zealand dollar or US dollar, and we both have seen these two pairs going up this week. Okay, so let's look at the 1 hour, 4 hour. The 4 hour, even the 1 hour, show that this wants to go down, right? We had a pretty hard level of resistance. Without drawing any lines, we see that the price is definitely at this hard level of resistance. But now if we look at the daily and the weekly, it looks to me like it wants to go up, right? Even the monthly chart, we have this hard level of support here. And what I can do right here is, like, look at this. If I draw a support line right here, okay, this is a pretty strong level of support on the bottom, and then we have this long downtrend right here. Okay, so what this is a wedge pattern. This is called a fallen wedge, where the price comes down and hits this support. Okay, so what's going to happen is the price is getting stuck in this bottom of this wedge here. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see the price is getting stuck inside here, and eventually it's going to break out. Now, if we look here on the smaller time frames, it shows that it wants to go down, right? And there is that trend line, that blue trend line. We could possibly, I don't know, bring this down a little bit. Let's go to the daily. Okay, even right there on the daily. So we kind of have this. We need 3 points really. I don't want to count that as a point, but you have 1, 2, almost 3 points to make this trend line. So we can pretty much guess that this is going to touch this trend line this week, okay, and possibly form a red arrow on the daily chart, at least the 4-hour chart, but it already has. You see what I'm saying? So this right here is not 100% set in stone. It's showing a red arrow here because it hit that same level of resistance before. But notice that we have another level of resistance right here, and we have a level of resistance right here. So it could technically still go up. And I'm thinking that yes, it probably will. Probably will not go up to this level, it'll probably go to this level. And this right here is where X marks the spot, if you will. So it will touch this trend line probably right in here, and then go down. So for the first day or so, watch for this to go up, okay, and then watch for this to go back down to this level of support. So overall this week it's going to be dropping, okay. Probably by the end of the week, maybe around Friday, you will see this touch this trend line or come close and then bounce off again. Alright, that's kind of my prediction. You know, I cannot tell you exactly what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to be going down this week and then gradually be going back up again, probably more into next week. So that's my predictions for that. New Zealand dollar, US dollar is pretty much the same thing. Okay, the past week it went up, and daily, weekly, monthly all show that it wants to go up, right? Except for the 4-hour. 4-hour shows it wants to go down. So what we got to do is, again, draw our trend lines. If we draw this trend line here like this, this is not perfect, but kind of get the idea, right? We have this trend line. Okay, now in order for this, there has a down arrow here, okay, and I feel pretty confident it will go down. But in order for this to form a true downtrend, it needs to break this uptrend. This is your level of support going up. Once this is broken, then we know 100% that we have a new downtrend. Okay, but considering the fact that the daily and the weekly show up, I think that this is not going to form a new downtrend this week. You will see this drop a ways, but then it's going to hit this line and bounce off again. That's my prediction, okay? Now, all you have to do really is, if it bounces off of this, then buy. Okay, I would not be looking to sell unless this trend line here is broken by 100 points or more. Once this trend line is broken, then you can sell long term. But wait for this to hit this trend line and then bounce off. If it bounces off, then buy. It's definitely going to be going back up. But if not, then you can sell. For right now, I probably would not do anything. If you start to see a downtrend forming here, you can sell and catch a few hundred points. But to be 100% safe, I would wait a day or two just for this to hit this trend line and see what's going to happen at that point. Okay, that's playing it safe. Okay, wait for this to drop from Monday and Tuesday, and then probably end of Tuesday, Wednesday, we should see this shoot back up or break a trend line. I don't know. Moving on to US dollar Swiss franc. Okay, now we see here on the 15-minute chart that it has been moving kind of in a sideways fashion. It actually gained more than it lost, which is okay. You know, it ended higher than where it started, but it really didn't gain that much. Okay, so it's been moving in a sideways fashion. If we look at the daily, it shows that it wants to go up, right? If we look at the weekly, it shows it wants to go down. And if we look at the monthly, it shows it wants to go down. So the H4, the 4-hour chart, and the daily chart show it wants to go up. But the bigger trend is still bearish, which has been for the last month or so. So if we look here, let me shift the chart a bit. We look at this, what is this, the weekly chart. We see we're in a downtrend still, technically. If we draw a trend line coming down like this, okay, I'm going to leave it like that. This is a downtrend. So what I think will happen, if you look at the daily, I think this price is going to touch this trend line. Okay, I think the price this week is going to shoot back up. It's going to touch this trend line, then it's going to go down again and continue down, because this right here was a level of support, and it actually technically broke that level right here. Okay, but then bounced off again. So we know that this is no longer a really strong level of support, and this trend line, this resistance, is still valid. Okay, until this is broken, this is still valid. So definitely this week we're going to see the US dollar Swiss franc, USD CHF go up, and probably towards the end of the week we're going to see this hit this trend line and bounce off of it. And if you notice, if you're already ahead of me, you already noticed that this is a falling wedge pattern. And with a falling wedge pattern, we know that price is going to bounce off, come down, hit again, bounce off, and get trapped inside of here, and then eventually form a new uptrend. Okay, so that might take a couple weeks. I don't know. But this week, I would buy. And then wait. At least for the first half of the week, I would buy, catch a few hundred pips, and then wait for it to hit this trend line and see what it's going to do. If it breaks, then you can buy again. But if it doesn't, then you can sell. If it drops off of this, bounces off, then you can sell and hold. You can catch another few hundred pips easily. Okay, but that'll probably be more into next week that we'll see, you know, either a downtrend or a continuation of an uptrend. All right. Moving on to US dollar Japanese yen, we saw a gain in this pair. Now, this typically US dollar Japanese yen was going to do kind of the opposite of what all the other US dollar pairs have done, USD pairs have done, and most of the USD pairs have actually dropped this past week, and so we can expect USD JPY to be going up. Now, long term is a little bit different. But if we look at the 4-hour, daily, weekly, and monthly, It's a little bit of a fuzzy picture because on the monthly we have this down arrow, and if we draw a trend line like this, okay, we show that the bigger long-term trend is going to be down. It's going to be dropping, right? And if we look here on the weekly, we see that this is our downtrend right here. Okay. Now, in order for this to form a new uptrend long term, this trend line needs to be broken by a few hundred points, I would say. If we look at the daily, we see kind of the same scenario. Okay, I don't know if I want to do that, but anyhow, what I think is going to happen, even in the 4-hour chart, the 4-hour and daily is showing up. So I feel that this is definitely going to be going up this week, and it should come up to this trend line or close to it and bounce off of it and come back down again. I do not think that this is going to break anytime soon. Okay, even though, you know, like the weekly is showing up and the daily showing up, but I don't think there's going to be, you know, any long-term uptrends. Okay, I think, now this is getting more into gambling, I guess, but I think it's going to continue down. Hard to say at this point, but I think it's going to hit this trend line and come down further, but I don't know. What I do know is that it's going to go up definitely this week. Once it hits this trend line, then we can wait to see if it breaks this trend line or if it bounces off again. Who knows? Okay, that's the nice thing about Forex. We can look at our trend lines, and that's really all we got to do is mark our trend lines and then wait for the new trend to either break or bounce off. Alright, so at least the first half of this week you can definitely buy and get a few hundred pips, and then when it gets up here to this trend line, I probably would close the trade and then just wait to see what's going to happen. Okay, so you're looking around Wednesday or so for this to hit this trend line, and then at that point we will know, we have a better picture of what's going to happen. Okay, and moving on to USD CAD, US dollar Canadian dollar, we see that this has ended lower than where it started, so it was an overall downtrend, but not, you know, not a huge downtrend, a very small gradual downtrend, right? And if you look at this, the larger time frames, we see that it definitely wants to go up, right? Look at the H4, look at the daily and the weekly. Okay, now the monthly and the weekly show a red arrow, right? But if we draw a trend line, watch this. If we draw a trend line like this, okay, this shows that we have an uptrend. Okay, even though, you know, we don't have any arrows right here, even the weekly, okay, technically we have an uptrend. This came down and touched here, but I think that this is going to shoot back up again. If you look here on the daily, let me zoom out a bit. If you look here on the daily, like that, kind of move this a little bit, but you get the picture, right? it's already got an up arrow here on the daily chart, and it could drop a little bit further and touch this trend line. But looking at this, I feel very strongly that this is going to be going up. I cannot say 100% certain at this point, but what I would do is watch this on Monday. Watch this on Monday and see if this trend line breaks or if it bounces off. If it bounces off, then I would buy. Even though, you know, right now we have a up arrow. Like I said, these arrows are not set in stone. And, you know, even though it kind of looks like it's going to go up, we have a down arrow here. So we know that this is a strong level of resistance right here. So it technically could go back up and touch this resistance, or maybe even right here. Okay, and this is what we call a rising wedge pattern. So more than likely it's going to go back up, touch this trend line, and then the price is going to ride inside of this wedge or triangle and then eventually break out. I do feel that this long term, this will be going down, but since this is on a weekly chart, so it might be a couple more weeks for that to happen. Okay, we know that the overall trend for the US dollar has been bearish, but at the same time the US dollar has been fighting back. The US dollar has been and always will be a strong currency. Okay, so this week, okay, this coming week, we can expect for this to go up. Okay, definitely. But like I said, wait on Monday, most of Monday, to see what happens. If this starts to go back up, then buy. All right, catch a few hundred pips. You could buy, like from here to there, that's showing 4,000 pips. My God. So you could easily, you know, if let me get the crosshairs. If I come from right here where the price is now and go up to there, you know, you're over 4,000 pips. And if let's just say the price drops more and comes down and touches this trend line somewhere right around here, so then you would have 5,000 pips, right? If you want to trade long term. So you definitely want to look to buy this week. Okay, and then once it gets up to this area of resistance, then, you know, decide if you want to sell. If it breaks and keeps going up, then we know we're in an uptrend, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I do not think that this trend line here is going to be broken right now. Okay, so that is overall is my prediction for this week. You want to buy for US dollar, Canadian dollar. Okay, so anyhow, I know that's a lot of information, but if you have any questions or comments about my weekly trade prediction, please feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. There is a link below in the descriptions of this video for my personal Facebook. You can contact me there. If you have questions about other currency pairs, you know, please feel free to reach out to me and ask me about those as well. And we can compare, analyze your analysis to my analysis, and see what we can come up with. Okay. So also, if you have not joined my Facebook group, there is a link below for my private Facebook group. Please join that, and this way you can post any questions or comments in my Facebook group, and we can all kind of collaborate in an open discussion about what you think is going to happen in the market. Okay, so anyhow, thank you for watching, and let me know if any questions. Thank you.